Hey guys, this is Stacy from EatTheBite.com, and today we're feeding a crowd with this wicked cheesy baked ziti. It goes like this. We'll put all our pasta in a big bowl. We're going to add some homemade sauce, some garlic, sausage, and onions. Mix everything around until it's well combined. We'll add half the mixture to the bottom of a baking dish. Throw on some dollops of ricotta, then some shredded cheese, of course. Another layer of the ziti. We're going to spread out this delicious Parmesan bechamel sauce, which is very easy to make. Add more shredded cheese, and then we're going to bake it in the oven. So, let me show you how to make it. First things first, I'm using my homemade sauce for this, and if you want to go that route, you should definitely check out my big batch spaghetti sauce recipe. It's awesome because when I want to make something like this ziti, I just pull some sauce from the freezer and warm it on low in the background while I do other prep. Next up, we need some finely diced garlic. So I'll start by slicing the garlic into thin rounds, and then I'm going to go ahead and dice it down into smaller bits from there. Then we'll just set the garlic aside for now. We'll do the same thing with our onion. I cut a large onion in half, and I usually start by slicing the onion into strips and then dicing it down into smaller bits from there. I want the flavor of that onion, but I don't want chunks of onion in the final product, which is why I go for the fine dice. You'll need to run your knife over the onions a bunch of times before you get that finer dice like you see here. So I've got my garlic and onion, and I'm going to set those aside while I do my other prep. I've got a block of fresh Parmesan cheese here, and I'm going to shred some of this for the Parmesan bechamel sauce we're making for one of the layers of the baked ziti. I'm going to stick that in a bowl for now. And next, I've got some butter melting in a small pot. And once it's done melting, I'm going to add some flour to that. This is called a roux, which is a thickening agent for sauces. We're going to mix that around until it's well combined. And we want to cook off that raw flour taste, so we're going to stir this for a few minutes. And I do like to alternate between letting it sit for a few seconds like this, and then start whisking it together again. It will start to smell a little nutty when it's done. Next, I'm going to add some warm milk that I just heated in the microwave for a minute. I'm going to whisk this together, and we want to get this heated up for a few minutes until it comes almost to a boil and then it starts to thicken. Then it should look about like this. After that, I'm going to add the fresh Parmesan cheese we shredded. And you don't have to do too much here. I just push the cheese down and let the heat melt the cheese right in. Then once it's melted, it does need a little bit of salt. So I like to add a small amount of salt, about 1/8 of a teaspoon. So we'll put that in there, give it a stir. Then you want to test it, and I thought the salt was perfect, so I left it at that, and the sauce is done, and it's delicious. I heated a little olive oil in a pan and added 1 pound of ground mild Italian sausage. And I'm going to go ahead and break this up with my spatulas until it's down to a crumble. Once everything's down to a crumble, I'm going to let that cook a couple of minutes on medium to high heat. And when the time comes, I will give it a stir. And I like to get a little crispy on the outside, but that's optional. Once the sausage is mostly done, I'm going to add those onions to the middle of the pan, then a splash of olive oil, and we're going to cook those in the middle of the pan for a minute or two, then we're just going to mix them right in to combine. It doesn't take too long to cook because the onions have such a fine dice. Next up is the garlic. We're going to do the same thing here. Put the garlic in the middle of the pan, hit it with some olive oil, let it cook a minute on its own. Then we're going to go ahead and stir to combine that in. We'll let it cook another minute or so, and our sausage, onion, and garlic mixture is done. Now it's time to cook our pasta. I'm adding a box of ziti to my salted pasta water, and don't skip that salt. In the first couple of minutes of cooking, I do like to stir it a few times just to make sure that pasta doesn't stick together. Then once it's finished cooking, I'll drain it and transfer it to a large mixing bowl. I'm going to add 3 cups of my delicious homemade red sauce to the bowl. Then we're going to go ahead and add the sausage, onion, and garlic mixture. Then we'll mix everything together so the sauce is coating the ziti well and the sausage mixture is evenly distributed. After that, I sprayed my 9x13 baking dish with some nonstick cooking spray. Then we're going to add half of the ziti mixture here, and make sure you spread it out across the bottom. After that, I'm adding dollops of ricotta on top. I'm using 1 cup of ricotta, but you can use more if you want. And if you prefer spreading a layer of ricotta over the ziti, that's fine too. I just happen to love dollops of ricotta, so that's what I'm doing. I've got 2 cheeses here, mozzarella and jack. And I'm going to put a bunch of cheese on top like you see here. Then I'm going to add the rest of the ziti and sausage mixture on top. And you want to make sure you spread this out so it reaches all 4 corners of the baking dish. And now it's time for that incredible Parmesan bechamel sauce. All you really need to do is spread it out over the top and smooth it out with a spatula like you see here. And for the last layer, we're going to add a bunch of that shredded mozzarella and jack to the top. And you want to make sure this is evenly distributed, of course, and all the way to the edges. Now we're going to bake this in a 350-degree oven for 40 minutes, until it looks like this. While the lasagna is cooking, I made a quick little basil butter garlic bread. I used a French bread loaf from the grocery store and sliced it into rounds like you see here. Then I mixed together 1 stick of softened salted butter with 1 finely diced teaspoon of garlic and 1 tablespoon of finely chopped basil, plus a pinch of salt. I mix it together with a fork and you've got this incredible topping for the bread. All you have to do is just spread a little bit over each piece of bread. And if you have extra butter, you can serve that on the side. While the lasagna is cooling, just pop these in the oven for 10 or 15 minutes to toast, and I did pull them out to add a pinch of Parmesan cheese to the top. Then I'll stick them back in the oven a few more minutes to melt that cheese. Once the garlic bread is out of the oven, you're ready to serve. This is a pretty large baked ziti that can serve at least 8 people. Depending on how many you're cooking for, you should also serve this with extra sauce on the side, as much as you think you'll need. I'll add some garlic bread to your plate, a little fresh Parmesan cheese, that's optional, but I love it. And then we'll garnish that with some fresh parsley if you have that on hand, but totally optional. This wicked cheesy baked ziti is a feast, and the homemade sauce is one of the best parts, so I hope you give that one a try too. It's perfect for feeding a crowd, and even if you're not, you can freeze individual portions and enjoy it on a night you don't feel like cooking. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.